persistence is key when we talk about self-manifestation, because the journey is not going to be easy. There was a wonderful speaker one time said the journey to obedience is terrifying, but you have to go anyway. Greetings, everyone. This is Coach Charlene. I'm your host for When the Moment Chooses You podcast, and we create and inspire destiny moments because every heartbeat matters. We have courageous, compassionate conversations, and I love inspiring other people through storytelling. And so I wanted to get back into my episode. I had talked about how to kind of find yourself, and we talked about discovery, self-manifestation, and self-release. So I kind of unpacked self-discovery a little bit, and I want to take it to the next step, which is self-manifestation and self-manifestation. So we talked about how you have to really begin to ask those questions. And I hope you asked yourself those questions and did some journaling. If you didn't, make sure you go back and look at the previous episode so that you can ask yourself those questions. And those questions help you to get more clear on what it is that you bring to the table, what your superpower is, what you believe that your purpose is, your original reason for being is. And so I encourage you, if you have not heard that one, to go back and watch that one. But so now we move into self-manifestation. So self-manifestation is how you become who you have discovered that you truly are. And so to become, it takes a process. And that process actually allows you to actually be responsible for that dream or that vision or that book or that business or that ministry or whatever it was that you got clear on. Maybe it's just with being a better person. I mean, it doesn't have to be a big something to do. It's something that you got so clear about that now you want to take action on it. And so once you discover who you are, now the responsibility is in your court. And I like the word responsibility. I was reading one of my favorite mentors of old, Dr. Miles Monroe, and he was mentioning about basically responsibility. If you split that word out, is responding to your ability. Now that you know who you are and know what you've been called to do, now it's time for you to respond to that ability that's on the inside of you. And that's where he digs into that wonderful definition that I absolutely love, and that is potential. And potential is what you can do that you haven't yet done. It's how far you can see that you haven't yet seen. It's how far you can reach that you haven't yet reached. It's unused success. It's capped capability. Is those things that you know are in your heart to do that you haven't yet done. That's potential. And that literally is on each and every one of us. So don't say that you are not valuable and that you're not enough. You are loaded with potential. You just have to harness that potential and release it out. And that's what I hope that these sessions are going to do for you. Now, when we talk about responding to your ability, that means that you're going to have to hold yourself accountable. Now I know what my purpose is. Now I know what I'm passionate about and I desire to be, do, or become. Now I have to see if I'm the type of person that can actually represent that. See, a lot of times when we recognize and we discover who we are, there's some work that has to go on the inside of you. I was had mentioned about a quote about you can be a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time, because you have to begin to start the journey of self-discovery by working on yourself. It's not enough just to understand what you're called to do or you got clear on what you want to do finally, but it's who you have to become in order to be that. And most of the time, a lot of us have to do, I would say, all of us have to do personal work so that we can be the type of person that has a brand that represents kindness and passion and love and all of that. When you do get to your place where you want to, whether it be a business or a ministry or product or whatever it is, your brand is critical in selling your product. So the process, that's the tough part. If you think about a woman that gets pregnant, the baby goes through a 9-month process of growth and development. on the inside of her. It's a process. And so when we finally discover who you are, it is a process. I remember when I first recognized that I never actually ever wanted to necessarily be a speaker, but it kept coming to me and it kept coming to me. And then I recognized that, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to be a speaker. But guess where I started? I started with just going to school and doing my regular journey of becoming a nurse. But when I was in my speech class, I had to give a 5-minute little synopsis of something. I can't even remember what the topic is. I was so nervous that I could not remember it, but I sweated. It was horrible. And I was so nervous that I forgot what to say, even though I was reading a paper. So you would not be telling me that I'm doing what I'm doing today with inspiring other people and helping other people that love to speak and to love to share their story, now releasing their voice. So it took a process though. I had to get used to being uncomfortable and move those fears of being in front of people out of my mind so that I can do what needs to be done. Now, I know there's a quote or it's some kind of fact that says that people would actually prefer to die a painful death than to stand in front of a crowd and speak. And that's totally cool. But I thrive off of being able to inspire other people. So I believe that if you have a message, then you like it inspiring other people. But it does take a process. I had to do long hours of working on myself, checking my bad attitude, making sure I'm walking in love, not getting into gossip, all of those things that can kind of cloud your brand. And when I say brand, I mean who you represent. If your brand is a brand of kindness, then I shouldn't see you being mean and ugly and all of that. I'm talking about the brand that you choose to represent, that you show up with every day, whether you're at work, whether you're at home or in the community. Your brand speaks for itself. And it's not necessarily what you say you are, but it's kind of like what other people say that you are when you leave the room. Can people still say that, wow, this was an amazing person? Or when you leave the room, do they say, oh my God, so negative, yada, 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 So self-manifestation. We have to go through the process, just like a diamond. To become that rich, brilliant diamond, it first starts out with all of the black soot and dross around it, and it has to be chipped away through a process. It's the same thing when you discover who you are. You have to get rid of your self-doubt, your self-sabotage, your unbelief in yourself, you believing that you're not enough, you thinking that you're ugly, that you're not the person for this, that you're not going to amount to be anything. All of that stuff has to get chipped away so that you can stand up in your confidence, in your birthrights, so that you can declare who you are and use your talents and your gifts and your skills to actually allow you to get to those spaces where you belong and where you begin to command and you stand confidently, knowing all of your value, your superpower, and everything to do the things that you know that you were called to do. So my question to you, how big and how strong is your want to? I know it's not proper English, but how big and how strong is your want to? How bad do you want to be the person that you became clear about? So to be clear, you're going to have to do the work. You're going to have to burn the midnight oil sometimes. I know you say, I'm too busy. I have a job. I have too much to do. But I tell you what, you better start taking some time, even if it's 15 minutes a day, for just you and to be able to hear your own thoughts and not everybody else's thoughts. So persistence is key when we talk about self-manifestation, because the journey is not going to be easy. There was a wonderful speaker one time said the journey to obedience is terrifying, but you have to go anyway. There's some things and there's some challenges, there's some opposition a lot of times that comes your way when you finally start plunging in toward that desire that you have in your heart. But then you start hitting obstacles, and that's where you have to have a resolve. You have to actually believe in your own significance. You actually have to know that the vision that's in my heart is so much more than the opposition that I'm facing right now. You hear what I've said? The vision in my heart is so much more than the opposition that I'm facing right now. You have to have that type of resolve. That's how you'll be able to keep going and have that stick-to-itiveness that you need when obstacles come around you. So persistence is critical. Your destiny demands diligence. You have to be diligent about the things that you need to do. The things that you need to do is work on yourself. Work on yourself more than you work on anything else. Because when you work on yourself, you begin to start transforming, changing into the person that you want to be. There's a quote by, I think his name is Paul Coah or something like that. But he says, maybe the journey isn't so much about becoming, but it's about unbecoming everything that's not you so that you can become who you really were meant to be. See, as we go throughout life, things are piled upon us. And so we have to unbecome things. I have to unbecome a negative mindset. I have to unbecome that stinking thinking. I have to unbecome a bad attitude. I got to unbecome pride. I got to unbecome all of those things that's really not me from the first place so that I can be who I truly believe that I was destined to be. You have to become the kind of person that is likable, that does lead with their heart, that does do things intentionally as humanity and a servant of humanity. So your commitment to your dream is critical. Now, I wanted to talk a few things. A few more things about commitment. Commitment is huge. And people make these commitments that sometimes don't amount to anything. There's a camaraderie commitment, and that's, I'm going to do this just because my friend did it. There's a casual commitment. That's where you're like neither here, neither there. There's a coerced commitment. That's when people force you to make a commitment. You basically are doing it just because you've been forced to do it. And then I like the calculated commitment. A calculated commitment is the one that you need so that you can become the highest expression of yourself. Calculated means I intentionally took time and I declared and I wrote goals that this is going to be my commitment for my personal life, for my career life, or my spiritual life, whatever that is. You made a calculated decision to say that, you know what, I did say that I want to lose a little bit of weight or release a few pounds or whatever you want to say. So that means that you're doing the work, you're writing your goals, you're stopping eating all of the garbage, and you're exercising, you're doing good things for your mental health. You have to make a commitment there. So those other commitments are not going to work. If you're coerced, if somebody forces you to do something, you're not going to really be committed to you. If you just casually like, okay, yeah, I can do it, or I don't have to do it. You want that calculated commitment, and you should be definitely calculating that commitment to your dream, because really the only reason that you were born is to fulfill that purpose that you were placed down here on this earth to do. And so with that being said, I also wanted to share one more thing, and then I'm going to be done with self-manifestation. But when we also talk about commitment, we learned from one of our wonderful friends that we used to like listening to, Michael Mitchell, and he talked about the 6 stages of commitment. And so the 6 stages of commitment is one, defining moment. You have to define who you are. And is this the right thing for you? See, it's a defining moment. It's a knowing, just like I know who I am, just like I know that I'm called to do certain things, just like I know. It's a deep, strong desire in knowing who I am. And the second thing is the decisive moment. And the decisive moment is, now that I know who I am, I have to make a decision to become it. I have to make a decision to do something about what I know now. That's your decisive moment. It's just like if, I'm married. I always joke about this. We're married. Me and my husband were married. I had to it had to be a decisive moment. I had to make a decision. I couldn't just say, well, we may be married, we may not. No, I chose to be married. So that's a decisive moment. Same thing The third one is distasteful moment. And those are those moments that you get offended, offenses come, you start having challenges, things start not looking so hot. And so there's an opportunity there for you to abort the plan if you're not committed to it. But if you've defined your moment and you've made a decision to stick with what it is that you were doing, then that distasteful moment can just move on out of your way. But if it does not move out of your way and you continue to stay in that place of distastefulness, it moves into, it moves into the deceptive moment. I had to think about that for a minute, the deceptive moment. So distasteful, okay, I kind of got offended. I'm still holding on to it. I can't let it go. I can't forgive. I can't do anything. So you slip right into that destructive moment. As I call it destructive because it's deceptive moment. And if you really think about deception, when it comes to vision, your eyes become dim. You can't really see how you normally saw. You can't even see beyond your eyes to your vision because you're so stuck with what's right in front of you because you've been hurt or you've been violated or whatever the thing is that causes you to have this distasteful moment. If you don't move past it, you slip into that destiny moment. And there is a risk of you not fulfilling your vision, not fulfilling your purpose. And so you really have to master those emotions so that you can work through that distasteful moment. Not to say that you ignore the thing that happened to you. You face the thing that happened to you. You move past that deceptive moment into your destiny moment, your dying moment, actually. There's a dying moment. And I know many of us have to get to the place in our life that we want to die from everything that's familiar to us. Every type of person that I was that brought me to a particular place, I want that person to die so that I can reinvent myself and become someone else that I know I'm supposed to be. So it's disruptive at its core because you experiencing the dying moment says that this part of me that I am right now, if you're not happy with where you are right now, well, I'm ready to die to that person of who I was then and to create this new person that I am very clear about that has superpowers, that has a purpose. You want to move all the way into that person versus the person that you were yesterday, the brand that you were in your past. You cannot hold on to your history at the expense of your destiny. And so then the last one is the destiny moment. That's when you're kind of in your flow. You're enjoying life. You have joy. You have meaning. There's so many wonderful things going on. You're achieving your goals. You're fulfilled. You still going to be having challenges, but you're in this place where, okay, this work feels purposeful and I don't mind the challenges that come. Self manifestation. And so you have to be steadfast on your vision. Your ability to withstand opposition is persistence. Persistence says to life that I am not going to give up until I manifest what I see on the inside of me. See, that's the stick-to-itiveness that you must have if you're going to manifest who you truly are. And I encourage you today to make sure that you did part one, which is self-discovery, and ask yourself those questions. Now it's time for the work. This is where the work starts because every vision will be tested for its authenticity. Do you believe that the vision that you have in your heart is what you're supposed to manifest? Then it will be tested. So do not think it's strange that you're not going to have any challenges because you will. Okay? Self-manifestation. I want you to manifest your greatness because you have greatness on the inside of you. Thank you so much for joining this podcast. I'll have one more on self-release. In addition to that, I actually added on one, self-government. And so I will talk to you soon. Thank you for joining the podcast. And this is When the Moment Chooses You. And I love to have compassionate, courageous conversations. I love to create and inspire destiny moments because every heartbeat truly matters. Now, I encourage you to subscribe, like, share, all of that lingo that we use for you to be a part of the community. I also have a Facebook page that I created it's a private page for When the Moment Chooses You listeners. And I actually pop in and do live sessions here and there. And I'm going to be doing quite a bit more with that. So make sure that you go over to When the Moment Chooses You Facebook page and follow me there. And you can introduce yourself. Why don't we do that? Let's introduce who we are. I'm totally open to that, so that we can stay connected and be engaged. Okay, thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you on the next one.